Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a black cat with a monarch butterfly on its ear. We're going to be focusing on the eyes, trying to make them nice and realistic, but I'll be breaking it down all step by step for you, so it shouldn't be too difficult, hopefully. I've got my husband Mark here with me.
Hey there, everybody.
So let's get started. Okay, so for those who are watching with us live, welcome. We're glad to have you with us. If you've got questions, you can ask those to Mark in all caps, and he'll try to get those to me while I'm working. And if you are watching later, thank you too for, especially if you're new to our channel. We appreciate you stopping by and checking us out, and we hope that you will enjoy it and subscribe. All right, so I went ahead and sketched out the cat ahead of time just to make it a little bit easier for us. I usually kind of do the background all one color and then paint over the top, but this time I just wanted to kind of get a head start on this. So to start with, on our cat, I wanted to have him fill the whole bottom kind of corner of our piece. I put him just slightly off center so that the butterfly could hit in that kind of magic third. If you break your canvas into thirds this way and this way, that butterfly is going to be right smack dab there in the middle of that third. And then the eye on this side will be just kind of in this lower quadrant here. So to start with, I kind of marked out about halfway where the top part of my cat's head is going to go. It's going to be right kind of almost in the halfway, just below it maybe. And then just slightly to one side of center. And I brought that circle kind of down around and left about a thumb's width or so at the bottom here, edge. And then did the same thing on this side, and this time it's probably 3 to 4 fingers width. So maybe 2 on this side and 4 on that side. So he's just slightly kind of this way. And then the ears are going to be, let's see, 2 to 3. I've got a 9 by 12 inch gesso board, by the way. So these measurements will be a little bit different if you're using a larger canvas, but you can kind of break them down, hopefully similar. But we've got about 3 fingers width here, and I'm going to curve up the ears and angle them out to about maybe an inch off of the inside of that corner. And then this one's going to angle out this way. Try to get these kind of matching. And this time it's going to be about the same distance away as we did here. So kind of measure here, and that angle should point up to that mark there and here, if that makes sense. So if you kind of divided your canvas into a section here, the ears and the face are going to kind of fit inside that little box right there. So we're going to go up, and then when we get to, let me see, it's about the same distance from the peak of the forehead to the tip of the ear. So if you just kind of use your fingers and measure that, you can kind of get an indication of where those ears should stop. They're going to look really big, but think about the fact that this cat is not, you're not seeing the full face. So the ears are going to look big on here. That's how we want them to be. So don't make them too small. Although some breeds cats, have smaller ears. So I guess it just depends on the kind of cat breed you're looking at. You can use a different picture. If you want to put in your cat, you don't want to do a black cat, you can do that too. So, all right, rambling, sorry. I'm going to round that off and then angle that back down, and it's going to almost come to straight line down here. So you're going to go almost just straight down, and then just before you get to the top of this curve here, where it starts to kind of curve down here, you're going to do a angle like that. So you're going to round that off like that. That makes sense. And then do the same thing on this side. You're going to kind of curve it down, almost straight down here. Curve it in slightly where it meets the head, right there. This is the top of the ear. So this kind of circle that we made here is going to be the top of the head. And then the ear will kind of curve in like this. So we'll have a little bit of hair that kind of fills in right here and here. So be sure that you kind of cut off those edges with some fur when we do them. And then the eyes are going to be kind of fit right where these two ears kind of curve. So you can do kind of a straight line here and here if you want to. And then measure from just below the ears and go across here all the way across like that. And then do another line that's maybe 1/4 inch from the bottom of the canvas. It's hard to do a straight line on that angle, but you get the idea. So create yourself a little box. That'll help you get your eyes the same size. And then you can divide this again, maybe leave about an eye width in between. So this will be about the size of an eye. So if you kind of do a circle between in this little box here, then you can kind of know how to big to make your eye here. So then you kind of mark there and there, and these sections should be equal as well. So, you know, make sure that you're getting these the same size boxes if possible. And then to draw the eye, I'm going to do a circle in my box there. But I'm not going to go all the way to the corners on here. I'm going to go to the top of the box and the bottom, but I'm not going to quite go to the corners yet. So this is kind of what it'll look like for you when you first start. In fact, the top of it is going to be cut off a little bit. So then we're going to, let me see, just below the halfway mark on our eye, we're going to do this little teardrop right there. Just a little on either side. Kind of a little triangle almost right there and there. And then you're going to curve up and cut off the top of that circle over here. So cut that part off. Just do a nice curve down, and there should be kind of a triangle shape right there if you did it right. You're going to be kind of angling down and cutting off that top portion of the eye, and then angling it back in and meeting up with your circle, if that makes sense. So then we're going to erase all of this other stuff. So that's not part of the eye, but we're going to use that box just to kind of help us create the shape. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'm just using a water-soluble pencil, so it's going to just dissolve right into my paint as I work. And then the same thing on this side. We're going to curve up, cut off the top of our circle, and then kind of create a little triangle shape right there and meet it up with the side of our eye. Okay? And that's pretty much the drawing that we're going to do right now. I'm not going to draw in the butterfly yet because we're going to paint over it. I kind of just did that so that I got the placement of the cat right. But and then the nose, we can do a kind of an X from the corner here down to the corner here, and from this corner down to here. The nose is going to fit right in this little section right here. And then their eyebrows are going to kind of come up from this little corner right here of our little box that we made, right? And then there's going to be some fur coming up this direction. And then the fur will grow out this way on the sides and then down under the eye. So this is kind of going to be our center, this little mark right here, this little V shape right here is going to be the center of the cat's nose. All right, so having that in there will help us kind of know the direction of our fur to go, how we want our fur to go. All right, let's do the background real quick. I'm going to grab some white, and you could really do the background any color you wanted to. I decided to do mine kind of a teal blue color just because I like that color. Whoops, I got the wrong blue there. That's ultramarine. Let me go over my palette really quick. What? I've got burnt sienna, burnt umber, carbon black, zinc white, titanium white, cadmium red medium, cadmium orange, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow medium, phthalo green yellow shade, phthalo blue green shade, and ultramarine blue. Just spray my palette there. I talked a lot about the cat and draw. They're sitting there drying out.
No, well, everybody loved the explanation. So
oh, good, good.
I really appreciate you going into the details.
Good.
And helping them out.
Great. Hope so. right, I'm going to grab some burnt sienna and my phthalo blue. That makes my favorite teal color there. So kind of tones down that blue so that it's not so in your face. Might even add just a little bit of the phthalo green to make it a little bit more of a minty green color. Add a little bit more white. There we go. And I'm just going to lay that on and go ahead and let my brush strokes kind of show. Let it be sort of painterly. And I'm just using a large flat brush. You can use whatever size works for you. I'm just going to go around my drawing here. And go ahead and leave, a little bit of texture as I paint. If you pick up a little bit of that black, that's okay. We can always kind of clean that up later. It's kind of blending into my paint just a little bit as I paint around it, but grab a little bit more of that green. Maybe add some other little pops of color in there while it's wet. See how that kind of adds a little extra something. I thought about doing this background with like a mixed media background. I thought, if you wanted to get like really creative, you could pick a really pretty paper and cover the background with that. Something Halloween themed, even if you wanted to. But, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just paint right over that butterfly. But I thought something that even like a magazine excerpt or like a dictionary page excerpt or something like that would be kind of cool in the background. And I did that on a couple of my other paintings. The bluebird painting, I show how to do that. So if you're interested in doing something a little bit different with your background, you can check that out. All right, whoops, just making a lot of noise, isn't it? It's just clanging against that. Drop.
Oh, we got our first question.
Okay.
Beth would like to know, do we have to have zinc white for this painting?
No, the zinc white is only going to be used in the cat's eyes. And it just adds a little bit of transparency when we put in the highlights in the eye. So you can just use a little bit of like glazing medium if you have glazing medium. I can show you what I use, the acrylic glazing liquid satin. I've got the link down in the description for that and all the other materials and brushes and paints that I'm using today. So it's a good color to have if you're going to be doing a lot of animal portraits or paintings on water or clouds. It's good for, a lot of different uses. So it really is a good color to have. I don't use it all the time with every painting, but when you need it, it really does come in handy. It's just a transparent white that, makes it easier to kind of create certain effects. Okay, there we go. So we kind of did a little soft blue background. I think that's good. See, and I also painted around so you wouldn't have to get up and dry anything today, honey. So.
Dag nabbit.
Well, I made you get up like every other minute the other day, so I thought it'd be nicer to you today.
So I can rest today.
Yeah, you can rest.
Hey, Tricia would like to, if you could show how you load your brush, the paint, because somehow you magically let your paint go way much further than everybody else.
Okay.
So they
Yeah,
want
I'll
to know
show
your
you.
secrets.
Okay. All right, so the first thing I do is wet my brush down. I just put it in my cup of water and wring it out. You can't see it because it's off camera there, but I just kind of wring it off, the extra water off against the side of the cup. So there's plenty of moisture in my brush, but it's not dripping wet with water. And then I will pick up just a little bit of paint from the side of the paint puddle there. And I try to keep, as I'm working, I try to keep pulling from that same area, because as your paints dry on your palette, and they will dry out even if you're spraying them, this backside will kind of create a skin that will be difficult to break through. But if you keep one side of it kind of fresh with paint, this side will be kind of your open side that you can pull from and work from, and you can kind of get up underneath that skin. You can see it already forming there. It's kind of flipping up on me. So I don't ever really pull but from the backside here, because that'll kind of create little gummy bits in my paint. And then I just kind of press my brush nice and flat and really press down nice and hard so that you're loading that brush fully all the way into the inside of the brush. Having a good brush really makes a big difference too. You'll be able to load more paint on it, and you'll be able to paint longer with it, and it won't, I don't know. Anyhow. All right. So that's pretty much it. I don't go all the way up to the end of the, ferrule. You don't want to get the paint up in here on a flat brush. On a round brush, you can do that, but not on a flat brush. And then I'm going to start painting in our kitty cat. I'm going to put the black in first, and then we'll put the highlights in after. So I'm just going to paint it all in the direction that his fur is growing, though, so that if I have any little sections that are showing the undercolor through, it'll kind of just become part of the effect of the whole. Right, and I'm just going to go carefully around and see how far that paint goes. Pretty. And then as I get to the end here, my brush is dry now, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of water, just dip it into the water, not dunk it, just dip the very tip of the brush into the water to pick up a little bit of water, and then go back and pick up some more paint. And if you do that and get into the habit of doing that every time, that keeps your brush moist, keeps your paints moist on your brush, and it helps. Also, I think that's something that we forget to do when we get busy painting, is to moisten, re-moisten our paint brush, not the paint, but the brush, because the paint doesn't always, it doesn't need to be wetted down all the time. You don't want to get it watery, but the brush especially will be dry. And if you're finding that it's not covering and your paint is getting sticky, or it's just not really moving for you on the canvas, that's probably what the problem is. You probably don't need to just add water to your paints. You probably need to just moisten your brush up a little bit. Keep it hydrated. All right, so filling in around the eye there. Kind of went over it a little bit there, but I'm going to carefully kind of just barely go over that in there too. Just a little bit. I'll paint that back in, but we want it to dark to start with. And then on the edges here, I'm just going to kind of pull out and let that brush kind of barely, see how it's kind of creating this fuzzy edge? I'm just kind of barely using the corner of that brush and tapping. And as I pull out and lift, do little short choppy brush strokes to kind of create a little fuzzy edge on there. And let's do the same thing on this other side. Use that corner of the brush. Tap, tap, tap. Somebody was complaining about these long brushes and how I shouldn't be using these long brushes in my videos the other day. I'm like, well, I can't get this brand in a short brush, so I would if I could.
I can take it out in the garage and cut off the ends for them.
That's true. That's true. I don't know. Well, they were telling me all about how the barn was out of perspective and all that, and I was like, well, If you actually watch the video, you can,
and saw the picture of it.
And saw the picture, yeah.
Actually, that's the way it looked.
Exactly.
In real life, because we took that picture.
We did. It was...
Real quick, what size brush are you using again?
This is I didn't mention that one. This is the number 8. It's about a 1/2 inch, I think. Something like that. Maybe a little bit bigger.
And if somebody doesn't have a number 8?
Just any size, whatever. Whatever you've got.
Okay, the correct answer is they can go to the brush guys.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I didn't know what you were getting at there. Yeah, if you want to buy one, you can go to the brush guys. But really, you just use whatever brush. I use the biggest brush that'll fit in the area that I'm working on. It just, works, moves things along faster.
Okay, so they can glue 2 number 4s together, or a 5 and a 3.
Yes.
Or they could go to the brush guys and
exactly, yeah.
Use the promo code
Angela Fine Art.
Angela 5 Art, get 5% off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you got the link that's down below brings them to your suggested list.
Yes, it does.
And this brush, I'm sure, is in there.
Yes, it is.
Sweet.
It is.
Like how that works out like that. Hey, somebody want to know if they were doing an orangey calico cat. What color should they start with the base?
I would look at your picture and pick out the darkest colors that you see under the fur. That's what you want to start with. So on a calico cat, it's probably going to be a dark brown of some sort. Burnt sienna, burnt umber, something like that. And then build your layers up slowly, with it, just like we're doing here. We're starting with the darkest color, the black, obviously, of our cat, and then we're going to add our highlight colors on top. Slowly, and then knock them back down with glazes and things. So,
and what color cat doesn't mind to be painted the most?
It would not be Cashmere. She doesn't even like to be petted.
Be touched.
Oh gosh.
So she has to sneak up on her while she's sleeping. Start painting her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a black cat growing up. She had a little white tuft right here on her forehead. Or no, it was on her forehead. Mitzi. She was a mess. I have a lot of scars from her scratches. She didn't like it. She'd come sleep on my head at night, and then if I moved, she would scratch me.
You're bothering her.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're bothering my sleep. Like, so sorry. Okay. Somehow this eye got smaller than this eye when I filled it in. I don't know what happened there, but
kind of squinting.
Yeah, it's squinty on that side. We'll even it out. Let me kind of tone this one down. Maybe bring this one down a little bit.
And your brother has 2 black cats.
Yes, they do. Frank and Beans.
Frank and Beans. Yeah.
I love that name.
Yeah. Those are their names. One's Frank and the other one's Beans.
Yep. Those are the most, they're so big too. They are huge. Just tall and lean and ginormous cats. They like knock you over when they try to pet, run up against your legs. You're like, ow. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we filled in with our black there. You definitely need to work on the eye a little bit, but let me start. I'm going to grab my 3/8" angle brush here and a little bit of red, a little bit of white, and maybe, I kind of think I like that color. That'll be good. We'll fill in the ear with this color. Just this kind of soft. The cadmium red medium has a good amount of oranginess in it, so that when you add white, you can see that the color isn't like a pink. It's more of a watermelon color. It's really pretty color. If you're using a more pinkish red, you can add a little bit of yellow to your paint to keep it from looking too pink. But you could have, I don't know, pink is fine. The ears are pink, so whatever floats your boat. I'm not going to come to your house and go, wrong.
Step away from the pink.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it down. Nobody's going to get hurt.
Your painting, your rules. I'm just showing you how I did mine, or doing mine. Did not get an example done this time, but we're just going to work it out when we go. Shouldn't be too hard.
Oh, so we're going to be surprised with everybody else.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so I'll do that. I kind of add a little bit more white sort of in the middle here. There's a little bit of a highlight where the light hits it on the inside of the ear right there. And let's do the other side. Here, hydrating my brush. It's starting to get sticky and not moving, so I gotta grab some water, add that to my paint. So much easier. Pick up a little bit more water, a little bit more paint. And just fill that in. Okay. Now at this point, you're going to kind of start freaking out a little bit, probably because the ear is going to look really weird, and it's not going to look right. Your brain's going to be like, that looks terrible, and it does. It's pretty much not at all what you want it to look like yet, well, but we'll get you there.
That's how my finished ears would look.
That was
right there.
How yours finished one would be. Okay. Well, we're not going to finish there.
And everybody would be like, wow, that's not how that's supposed to look.
Wow, that's really good, Mark. That's really...
Participation trophy.
Exactly. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. All right, let's set this aside, get this pencil out of the way here. All right, let's start on the eyes. Here, we can maybe fix our little weirdness that's going on here. So I'm going to grab the yellow, cadmium yellow, medium, and just a little bit of yellow oxide. That'll kind of tone it down a little bit, and a little bit of white. That'll create kind of a soft yellow color. And we're going to start with that on our cat's eyes and fill in the middle part here. And I'm just going to paint right over the top of that pupil. So this part on the bottom should be kind of a semicircle. So make sure this part is semicircle. The top part gets cut off, but the bottom part should be rounded out. And it doesn't create a football shape. So think about, the fact, the eye is a circle. So I see a lot of people making their eyes look like footballs, but that's not what we want. We want it to look like a circle that's had part of it cut off. So don't bring this eye all the way out to this corner is what I'm saying. Don't bring the pupil all the way out, or the iris all the way out to the corner. Round it out. Follow that circle all the way around like that. Got a lot of dark brown there, dark color coming off of that. Might not have drawn in that iris or the pupil right away before this. Might have been better not to have that competing with the color because it's kind of creating a little bit of grayness in my eye here. I don't want that. All right, so now I'm going to round this out because I kind of lost the bottom edge of this. So I want this to come down a little bit more round like that so that they match. Okay.
Okay, now the way it looks right now reminds me of some artist, and I can't think of it.
grab a little bit of black, mix that with that color. Maybe grab a little bit of red. And we're going to put in this area right here that's kind of gray. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, I can't help you. But
that's okay. Nobody can.
Okay. I
know just the yellow and the pink and the black like that. It just reminds me of an artist style of some kind.
Okay.
I know you were worried.
I just sorry.
That's okay. Usually I can give you vague things and you can
nail
it every time. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not reading your mind today. I can't.
Okay.
I can't figure it out. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, so kind of doing the eyelid around the side there too, on the top and side of the eye on this side, to kind of create that cat eye effect. Right. So the pointy parts are not the iris color. The iris color is the circle, and then the pointy parts are the darker color. So don't make your cat eye a cat, the whole eye, the yellow football shape. Okay, hopefully I've said that enough times that we won't see any of those. It happens every time.
So what you're saying is paint the whole thing like a football shape.
Right, with yellow. Check. That's it.
Not. Yellow is round.
Yes.
The grayish is football-y.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
The top is the only part that's not round. So this should be, you should be able to draw a circle from this all the way to here. Like if you were to continue that yellow circle all the way around. And I just got water all over everything. Okay. All right. I think that's hopefully clear enough. All right. So now let's add a little bit of brown. We're going to kind of start adding a little bit of other colors to our fur. So I think I'm going to start with brown, the burnt umber, grab a little bit of ultramarine blue, and create a gray out of that. And then we'll add just a teeny tiny bit of white, just to make it a little bit visible against our black. It'll just help it kind of show up. And we'll start kind of adding our color. We'll add it to the ear first. And I'm just kind of using the edge of my brush. That paint is kind of watered down somehow. I don't know why, but it's actually, there we go. So we're going to shadow the inside of that ear with this color. A little bit. Like that. Just darkened it up a little bit right there. And then let's add a little bit of this in here. I'm just going to kind of tap in some random color to the inside of the ear on this side. Just kind of lightly tapping. It's very kind of transparent, so it's not going to cover up all of that red. We're going to see it through. There. There's kind of some darkness on this inside of the ear there. Grab it, do the same thing on this side. Kind of pull in the direction where the hair would be growing. We're not really trying to paint hair necessarily. We're kind of doing the shadow that's underneath the hair. So think about it that way. Just going a little bit darker with some of this. Right in there, and then same thing on this side. A little bit darker. On the edge of that ear. All right. A little bit more white, a little bit more of the burnt umber. And let's start putting in some of our highlights. So let's put a little bit of color on our nose. I'm just going to do kind of choppy brush strokes in sort of a triangle shape. Right there. And a little bit under the eye, kind of coming off the side here and this way, over here. And maybe a little bit in between right there. Just trying to look and see where the light's hitting it. Even though if there's a dark, it's a black cat, there is going to be just a little bit of light kind of happening. So there's like a triangular shape right there between the eyes, and then it kind of widens out above, and I'm doing short choppy brush strokes and overlapping them up and down, moving my brush up and down and side to side, each brush, each hair, so that I don't have any going in a straight line, because that's kind of the tendency. So make sure you keep moving your hand up and down and around so that you don't end up with a line of fur going all the way across, looking the same all the way around. That makes sense? All right, so this is going to be very subtle at first. We're going to kind of work gradually toward our lighter colors. There, and then this area up here is pretty bright. I'm using the tip of the brush and just kind of smushing it and pulling it back down this way. Grab a little bit more. There's some highlights coming off, almost like eyelashes coming off and kind of curving around on either side there and there. And a little bit of highlight on the side of the face. Okay, pretty good. Give a little bit of white, a little bit more blue, and mix that with that brown. So we'll kind of have a blue-gray color now. A little bit more blue even. There we go. So you should be able to see on your palette that it's at least one tone lighter than the previous color. So it should be kind of more of a blue tint to it. I like that. All right, let's do a little bit of color here, and I may start switching to a smaller brush, but this one's doing okay with these small brush strokes. So I'm just kind of pressing my brush to a nice good flat edge. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. You can see how it's not loaded up real thick. It's just kind of, but I've pressed it nice and flat on the palette so that it's creating a really chiseled edge, so I can get some fine little brush strokes in here. And I'm going to do some along the nose right here. Now the ones along the nose are going to be kind of small. This might not be the right brush for it. And just use the tip of the brush and kind of, there we go. The hair on the nose is very fine. It's not, well, you know, if you've petted a cat, you know, it's really close, tiny hairs right there. They barely stick up. And that's probably way lighter than we need it to be, but we can tone it down. And then right up here, some little bit, changing the direction so that they're not all going the same direction. These ones are kind of turning this way. These ones are turning this way, and the ones in the middle are kind of going straight up.
Now, would you be able to use like a, I don't know which brush you use, like is it a fan brush or a rake brush or comb?
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, you could. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a small comb. I thought about, or you know, you could probably use this brush. And let me try it and see. I just think it might be a little bit too wide, but yeah, it's working. It'll create some really, really fine hairs. So if you want to get, you know, really small texture, you could grab yourself your comb rake brush.
Rake brush, okay.
Rake or comb. It just depends on the manufacturer. They're
okay.
basically the same thing.
Maybe in like the ears.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to use mine.
You're not going to use yours? Okay.
No.
We'll use it over here. Put some highlight on the cheeks. There. Looks good. Yeah, the nose is looking funky, so we'll work on that. I do want a little bit of color. I'm noticing right here on the inside of the eye coming down. There's kind of a highlight there and there. I think I'm going to bring it around just a little bit. There we go. Okay. See, it's very subtle. You don't need a lot. Now, if you get too much in one area, what I'm going to do is go back in with my black. And here, see, I'm grabbing from this wet side where I've pulled from before. I'm not going to try to get any from back here. I'm going to wet down that paint. And I'm going to just glaze back over, and that'll kind of set back that highlight so that it's not so noticeable. See, toned it down a little bit. Can do that along the edges here, where kind of along the edges where the light and dark kind of meet. It helps to kind of gradually blend those areas in together if you kind of glaze over just the edges where they kind of start. Sometimes you might not need to do it, but I find it looks good, and it kind of helps the effect. Let's put a little bit of dark right there. There we go. I'm just going to clean up that edge if I need to. Make sure that that's nice and crisp right there. And there. Then I'm going to grab some of the white and blue. And I think I'm going to switch to a liner brush for this. Maybe a little bit easier. I'm going to grab a liner brush, add some water to that paint. Got ultramarine blue and white here. Excuse me. And I'm going to do just a little bit on the inside eyelid, and it's not going to go all the way around, so I'm not going to do all the way around, but I'm just going to do a little bit of a highlight, like there's a little something there that we're seeing. I grab the black and go around. What you doing? You want to zoom?
I'm taking pictures.
Oh, okay.
I can zoom.
Oh, that's fine. I just wondered what you were doing. Okay, grab a little bit of... Oh, I grabbed the wrong white. I didn't want zinc white. Grab a little bit more white, a little bit lighter color. And I'm going to put a little bit of that up in here. It's got kind of that gray color that we used. I'm just going to add it to that little area of highlight. Kind of connect that to the lid highlight slightly. Okay, and then I'm going to go back with the brown, burnt umber. And I'm going to outline the inside of the eye around the eye with the burnt umber.
Okay, I got a request to zoom in on the eyes.
Okay.
So you'll need to probably move it up a little bit.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm just kind of cleaning up these eyes. We're really going to kind of focus on them and give them a lot of detail. So right now I'm just kind of adding the dark brown to the inside edge of that, but all the way around. It's burnt umber, and it's watered down, so it's not solid burnt umber. Okay. Let's go ahead, I think this is dry enough. Let's go ahead and I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch angle brush and a little bit of my phthalo green. And let's even grab some glaze. We'll do some more glazing liquid. That'll help us get a good transparency. Mix a little bit of that in with our phthalo green. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of phthalo blue too. Just make it look a little bit more turquoisey. All right. And I'm going to go right in the middle of this cat's eye. And if I use enough, not too much paint, I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Put your color in the middle there and then wipe it off. And then I'm going to go back in and blend out that edge. So I don't want to cover up all of the yellow with this green color. That's the idea. I want to kind of have it right in the middle there. So let's do it on this side. So I'm going to lay down some color right in the middle. And then I really don't have very much, but I'm going to kind of wipe it off there and kind of lightly blend it out toward the edges. So that it kind of does like that. If you get too much of the green toward that edge, you can always go back in with your cadmium yellow and white and kind of touch it up. We're going to do several layers in these eyes so that they have lots of really interesting color happening. So I'm going back in. I kind of mixed a little bit of that green with the yellow and white, and I'm going to go back in and do like a little bit brighter. The idea is that it's getting greener toward the pupil area. So the outer rim of the eye is going to be kind of yellow, and then the inner part is going to be green, fading to green. And it's okay if it's not completely blended, because if you look real closely at a cat eye, they have all kinds of little striations and things in there. So I'm going to go back in and kind of put some random dabs of green in the middle part here. Okay, and I have a little bit of glazing medium on my brush, so it's just kind of helping it move around slightly. It's not going to dry too quickly, and it's keeping that color a little bit transparent for me. Okay, let's do more on this side. So just a little bit of glazing liquid and a little bit of that phthalo green, phthalo blue, and just kind of wiggle in, creating little striations. You really don't want stripes. I mean, you can, I guess. Some eyes will have kind of more solid stripes. This one is a little bit more blendy, but you can see on this one, you know, how very subtle it is. So try to keep it subtle if you can. having enough transparency in your paint is what will help it not get too dark too quickly. We're just going to, work on creating layers. There we go. And they're kind of radiating out, so think about a starburst, kind of almost. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice today. They're all going to kind of come in from this center here. So, make it a little bit darker. This is our second coat of that dark green now. We're going to go a little bit darker just in the center there. Okay, yeah, that looks good. It's going to look freaky, so it's, you're doing it right if it looks freaky.
Yeah, especially zoomed in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like somebody tunes in right now that just sees green
It's like,
eyes looking at them.
It's like, what the heck? All right, so this is where the zinc white's going to come in. We're going to grab some zinc white. And I'm still using this 1/4 inch angle brush. I find that the angle brushes are really good for doing eyes, because you can kind of get in these little tight corners and things. So a little bit of zinc white, and we'll grab just a tiny bit of our yellow just to tint it slightly. There we go. A little bit of yellow, and I'm going to kind of wipe off the back end so that that paint is only on the tip. And we're going to run it right along that bottom edge of the eye, right over the top of any of the green. Try to keep it in that yellow area though. It's going to be subtle, but there we go. Now this time I'm kind of coming in just slightly from the edge and doing a little bit. And really just at the bottom there and there, where that curve happens. Okay. Let's grab our burnt umber and a little bit of the glazing liquid. Maybe a tiny bit of the green, creating a dark brown green color. This will be our shadow color. Again, wiping off the end of the brush so that most of the color is on the tip. And I'm going to run that and make sure that this is dry. I think it is. Hopefully it's dry enough. I'm going to run that color right along that edge. And if it gets too much down in the middle, we can just kind of use your finger and kind of wipe it, blend it out a little bit. But, oh yeah, it wasn't dry yet. It's lifting. See how it's lifting right there? That's because that part of the eye, the color, the green underneath was not completely dry. So you may want to wait. Let me choose this side. Just because that didn't work, I'm going to do it on this side. So probably ought to wait, let the eye dry completely before you do this part. But I'm going to go ahead and do it since we're right here, and hope for the best. We'll do another highlight here in a minute, and we'll clean up any area where it lifted off. So, all right, there we go. See, now that's the key to really any animal eyes, is getting that shadow in there on the upper lid. It really pushes the eye back and makes it look like it's part of the face. Okay, so we'll just let that set. You can zoom out now if you want, and we'll come back to it once that's completely dry. We'll work on the ears a little bit more. Oh wow, we're already at an hour. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and use that rake brush. It seemed like it worked, but if you don't have a rake brush, you can just use a liner brush and just do multiple hairs. So I'm going to grab a little bit of burnt umber and a little bit of the black, and we'll just go from this area and go all, and I'm kind of using the edge so it's not it's not fully sideways. And we'll kind of create our little ear hairs coming in, and make sure that you're kind of doing some, see how they're kind of crisscrossing some? So have some coming up and then some coming down, and change the direction of the hairs because they're not all going to grow in the same direction. That's what'll make it look a little bit more natural. So, and go right over the top of that shadow that we created earlier so it sets it back into the ear. Oh, I got a little bit on my background, don't want that. There we go. We're getting a little bit. Do some on this side now. This side doesn't really have a lot of hairs. It's there's pretty short nap, but I will do a little bit along that edge just to kind of create a little texture. And if you're doing a long-haired kitty, you can bring those hairs all the way out to the side. In fact, I'll do a few little ones kind of coming out. Like that, maybe. Do some on this side. This area.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Mm-hmm. So the traceable question.
Yes. Yeah, we will have a traceable for this. It will be available on my Patreon page. It's $1 a month for all the traceables that I do. All the old traceables from February of this year and previous and current. Any new ones as well. So we do about, I don't know, 8 tutorials a month. So you get about 8 new ones, and any of the older tutorials that you want. The ones before February are most of them are on like Pinterest or my Facebook page. So if you're doing one of the really old tutorials, you might look there. But this one will be on our Patreon. Okay, so there we go. Good. I like it. It's got a little bit of highlight, so we'll get some of our grays gone. So we can grab a little bit of white, a little bit of that black, and a little bit of the brown. Just kind of create a gray. And do a little bit of the highlight color in the ear hair. It won't be solid. I'm going to do some nice and dark right here because there's kind of a shadow that happens right there. Grab the black. Okay, very good. So there's like a black triangle right here. You want this area and this area to be kind of dark. Right there and there. There might be a little bit of highlights kind of in there, but it's going to be kind of dark there, dark here in this little X area, right? And add a little bit more black right up in here with the rake brush. Maybe put some down over the top of this. we go. It's looking good. And then there's dark like right around the outside of the eye right here. Here it kind of continues this eye shape out here and here. All right, and let's grab some white. And a little bit of the black. And do some light. Now I'm going to grab my liner brush for this. Light gray. I'm going to put a few eyebrows. So the eyebrows start about halfway between the ear and the eye, seems like. And they kind of come up and out over the top of the ear. Ooh, super chat.
Super chat, and not too bad of a cowbell ring there. If
Yeah,
I can say
good
so
job,
myself. Thank you. I should have been practicing more this week. Well, the chat comes to you by C5 Dave. It says, thanks for the lessons.
Awesome. You are welcome. Thank you so much for your donation. We so appreciate it. All right. So just a few, like stronger, brighter, kind of dominant hairs here that'll kind of create a little eyebrows, I guess we're talking about. Okay. There we go. And if you're having trouble getting these thin lines, one of the things is having a brush that comes to a really fine point. So make sure that you're getting like this one's a 20/0. This is one of the, thinnest, one of the thinner brushes. This is a 10/0. So you can see the different brands. But get one that's very fine. And the longer the bristle, the longer the line that you can make with them. So if you're going to do a long line like we're doing here, I would use a longer liner brush. And then turning your canvas in the direction so that you can kind of create a sweeping line easily that feels natural, because you're going to be pulling the brush in the direction you want it to go. You never want to push the brush like in this direction. You never, because it'll just flare out those bristles. So you want to pull it, lead it, and the back end of it should kind of go point where you want that line to go. And I hold it pretty close up to the edge, pretty close to the ferrule, and add a lot of water to your paint. It should be almost too thin. So go thin it and then thin it some more until it's like a milk consistency or almost just water. And run that extra off my brush there. Get it all the way up in there. It doesn't have to stop like we did with the flat brush. And then I'll do another one real long. So I'm going to set it down, and I'm kind of changing the place where I'm starting these lines so that they stagger a little bit, so that they're a little bit overlapped like this, so that they're not all lined up like this, right? So think about that, where you want to start it, and find a spot that's open and not right next to another one. And then I'm going to pull a line quickly, as quickly as I can, and lift as I do it. Don't try to kind of look where you want it to go. So look ahead a little bit of where you want the line to end, but then don't overthink it too much. Don't go slow. Go as fast as you can, and just kind of create these little lines. You're barely touching the brush down onto the canvas. Just barely letting it rest there so that you can get these kind of fine lines. I'm putting way more whiskers than he needs, but I just wanted to make sure that you're getting
That's
that.
all right. He's kind of a little bit older.
Yeah, he's a little older, so he's kind of more like our age.
Hasn't waxed in a while.
Oh,
So
Lordy.
right.
That's not even funny. It's so... I'm not even going to go there.
I was going to let everybody know who's watching or could be watching this taped or it's not in chat. You can check your YouTube video settings, and we're streaming this at 1080p, so you can get a higher quality. You know, some people were at 480. And you don't get as much detail, but if you check your own settings, there you can adjust, and then you can really see clearly all the details there.
Right. Okay, grabbing a little bit of black with the watered down paint, and I'm going to set back that edge of some of those so that it kind of looks like they're kind of integrated a little bit, not just sitting on top of the fur. That little bit of glazing over the top will really help set it back. I'll put a little bit of that glazing in this fur too. Okay. All right, I think I'm happy with that. Let's finish the eye, and then we'll work on our butterfly real quick. All right, so to finish the eye, I'm going to do the pupil. And these pupils are kind of in the upper area, so they're a little bit off center. So if that's our center mark, I'm going to go just slightly toward the inside and curve it like this. It's ending just below the halfway mark on the eye, I think. And then back up and around. So it's slightly open because he's checking out that butterfly, or at least kind of going, what's up there? You may not be looking right at it, but. So we're going to fill in that pupil. And I just switched to a small round brush for this. Just whatever you've got that you're comfortable using. There you go. And then I'm going to try to get this in the same spot, hopefully. So just on the inside of the center, right? And stop at about the same spot, so it's right about here. That looks about right, hopefully. We'll see. If you need to measure it, measure it. I mean, like, yeah, that's good. That's good. Try to get them about the same shape too, same openness. This one's a little bit less open. We'll make it a little bit wider. There we go. Okay, they're matching, I think. Let's let those dry, and we'll do our butterfly and come back to that, because we need to let that dry all the way before we start putting our highlights in. So I'm going to draw in our butterfly real quick. And I mean, really, this is, you know, we're almost done with the cat at this point. So, I mean, if you didn't want to do the butterfly, all we need to do is the highlights in the eye, and you'd be good to go. So you don't have to do the butterfly here if you don't want to. I just noticed I got a little bit of blue paint down there.
But the butterfly gives us that seasonal flair.
Right.
Colors, the black cat. And
exactly. It's that black and
the orange.
Black and orange for the Halloween.
Nice.
Yeah, season. So.
I see what you did there.
Well, also the monarchs are migrating right now in our area. We've been seeing them when we go outside.
Yeah.
So it's a good season for them too. Okay, so kind of figure out where the butterfly is pointing toward this eye. Okay, so he's not quite straight down. He's kind of pointing toward this eye here, and I do a very thin, long, narrow oval shape. And then the back end of him is a semicircle there, semicircle here, like that. And then from the top of the little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch in from the ear, right here is where you stop. your butterfly, and there's going to be a head on top there. So this is kind of the body part. There's like a little oval shape. You're not really seeing it against this dark. Let me see if I can see it. I'll do it here. No, it's not showing. That's all right. We're just going to have to pretend like.
I zoomed in a little bit, so.
Okay, so you're going to angle out from there, from kind of where the body ends. It's just below, just above, and there's the wing comes out from there. So there's like a V shape right here and here where it attaches to the body, and this angles back, and this angles forward and curves, arcs out. So forward and arcs out, and this comes way out from the back end, so don't worry about it. It kind of curves around like that, and then it angles, it does another little loop right here. So a little curve there, curve around straight to that, and kind of angle them like that. There's your monarch shape. And this one's not fully open. He's kind of somewhat closed up. So, and then our pattern in there, I'll go ahead and put the pattern in. We're going to have it almost split in the middle right here, and then there's a about where this comes down right here, there's like a little section. So I'm going to split this and bring it around like that. Then this is going to split this wing like this, and we're going to have 3 little sections. 1, 2, 3. There's a little piece of black that kind of comes up like this, and then the black will cut off right here, the end of the wing, and back around. And then there's some little sections in here that are colored. A little circle there, a little circle here, and a couple lines right here and here. Okay, a little circle here, and a little one right here. Do the same thing on this side. Split that kind of almost down the middle. Curve it about where that ends in. Actually, a little bit more right here. And cut off the end of the wing there. It's going to have black all around. Then there's 3 that come diagonally like this. And then a bunch of little random shapes in here. Okay. The back wing is going to have a line that comes in there. All the lines kind of come from where these wings meet in right here. So if you, it's going to split this kind of right down the middle again, this way and this way. And then it's going to go a little bit closer to that side. It's going to curve around and come back in on itself. So curve around, come back in on itself. And then we're going to do like lines out from that point. So lines there, lines here, here, here. Well, actually this one comes this way. That one goes that. There, and there, there, and there. And then this end also kind of cuts off. It's got black on the inside here and here. All right, so there's our basic monarch shapes. Let's go ahead and fill in with the black. That'll be a good starting point.
And what pencil was that you
I was using a Aquarelle. You can use your, I have the link to the general Scribe all surface pens. It's a water soluble pen. Oh, look at my poor bear got a boo-boo on his forehead. I don't want that.
Do we need to stop the video?
No, we're okay.
Okay, all right.
He survived.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to outline the butterfly with my liner brush here. This is probably the most difficult part of this whole project. So if you want to leave this part out, you can. If it kind of stresses you out, you don't have to do the butterfly. You could do it a little bit more simplified version, you know. Just kind of a more stylized version would be good too. So whatever works for you and your level that you're at. I think previous to this, most of this was more of a, you know, beginner level. This one, the butterfly here is going to be a little bit more difficult. But like I said, I'll try to break it down for you so it won't be too hard. You can follow along. Okay. This line's nice and thick right here. Filling in. Try to get your sections in the same general spot. I mean, that's the main thing. And if you are drawing this yourself and you want to do it on paper first, it might help. And that way you can get these lines, you know, perfectly symmetrical. You can take your draw one half of it and then just flip it over and then trace the other side, and that way you can get your butterfly matching on both sides. Okay, filling that in. Sorry, I'm getting quiet. I'm just concentrating. Really not much to say. Just.
Hey, I know it's not easy to paint and talk at the same time. The whole thing, you know, my short little 5-minute tutorial was a lot more difficult than I had expected.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's like, okay, you're trying to think of things to say and then do something, and it's.
You did a good job mimicking me, that's for sure. It was pretty hilarious. Of course, I had a hard time not laughing hysterically. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of white here and mix that with my black. And I'll put a little bit of this gray color on the base of the tail. Loaded weird. Okay, there's kind of like little stripy white things on the tail, so I'm going to just kind of put those in there. I guess I'm sure this is not a tail, but on the back end of the butterfly. There we go. Get some color off there. Grab some black, brown. Golly, can't say my words. Burnt umber here. And I'm going to kind of color in the body with a little bit of that color. Looks like he's kind of furry. My picture that I'm looking at. I'll use this color to kind of highlight the leading edge of these wings a little bit. And a little bit right here where they come in and meet. A little bit more black. Put a little shadow right there where the separation between the body and the tail is. Okay, butterflies are my I got into this thing, I don't know, about 3-4 years ago, where that's all I painted. Like I painted so many butterflies. It was kind of a thing for a while where I kind of wanted to do all the different varieties, but then I realized that that's impossible because there's too many. So then I just started picking my favorites. And it honestly didn't stop until I started doing YouTube videos. So YouTube broke me out of my butterfly addiction.
But you have a couple butterfly tutorials for sure.
I do, yeah. I do have a couple of tutorials. But most of the butterfly paintings have sold now. I have a couple left, but not very many of them. All right, this is the what color is this? Cadmium orange. And I'm going to fill in these orange little spots. I'm leaving just a little bit of room so that I know where to put my black lines. And I'm going to kind of really look and define these shapes so that I kind of know where to paint around them with the black. There. I just didn't want to paint over them too much with the black and then have to go over them. Right. There's this. Yeah, you're being able to see those lines, so that's good. Just going around all of these, and it's kind of curved where they meet the black there, so the back ends are a little bit curved there. There we go. And cadmium orange is nice because it's nice and opaque, so it'll really cover over these other things that we have underneath pretty well. If it doesn't, you can add a little bit of white to it or just give it a couple coats. We'll probably have to put a couple coats on anyways, but if your paint's not covering this well, you can just add a little tiny bit of white to your paint. That'll make it more opaque. It'll cause it to get better coverage. Filling this in, keep on going here. Sorry, it's not all that exciting, not a whole lot to talk about.
Okay, I'll try to come up with some exciting ways to come up with. Wow, look at her go!
I know. We did have butterflies that we hatched from from caterpillars. If you've never done that, I would highly recommend it. It is so cool.
It's hard to sit on them and keep them warm and not crush them. That's for sure.
Yeah. Smart aleck. Well, it was funny because we did it by accident. We had some big cabbage, they're called cabbage worms out here. They were swallowtail caterpillars that were eating our parsley, and so we found them and brought them in instead of killing them, we thankfully, wanted to see what they were because they were such a pretty caterpillar. They were like bright green, and I'd never seen anything like them before. And so we kept feeding them the parsley, which they devoured it. And I think we only started with one the first year. But like within about a week, I thought it died. Like it kind of attached itself to the stem, and it looked dead. It really looked dead. It turned all brown and shriveled up, and I thought, oh, well, okay, well, it died. And then I touched it, and it moved, and I realized it was I'd never seen, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a chrysalis forming because it looks really it doesn't look like a chrysalis when it first forms. It just looks like a dead bug, And then it changed over time, it kind of created, got a different color and changed shape a little bit. And it was so neat watching it transform. And it just was like, I don't know, and then when I never did get to catch them emerging. I caught them right after when their wings were wet still, but you have to give them sticks so that they can fan out. Because I gave one to my girlfriend and it fell on the ground and it didn't have any place to crawl up. And so the wings were deformed. So you have to let them have a place where they can lay and have their wings open up. Sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's better than just watching me paint this, I guess. No talking.
Okay, I'll interrupt you with some facts.
Okay, here. I'm going to get a little bit smaller brush here. I don't want the liner, but I kind of wanted a little bit smaller round brush. Here. What? Go ahead, butterfly facts.
All right. So butterflies range in the size from 1/8 of an inch to almost 12 inches.
Nice.
Imagine coming across a butterfly that's almost 12 inches. Incredible. Butterflies can see red, green, and yellow.
How do they know that? I'm sorry.
Exactly. And that's how I can never understand how do they know that.
I guess maybe, I don't know. They must have done experiments. Okay, hold on. I'm going to fill in now with the black kind of around these shapes that I've created. So, okay.
I guess they like those color M&Ms the best.
That's how they knew.
Okay, well, obviously that's all they can see.
I watched a thing about monarchs and how they migrate, and it's incredible. They winter over, I think it's in Mexico, and the generation that winters actually survives the winter after they've flown all the way there, so they migrate from like Middle America down to Mexico.
And from the Great Lakes
to the
Gulf of Mexico.
Not that generation, though, I think. Or do they go all the way down on the way back? I can't remember.
No, I don't know.
Well, they have
butterfly facts.
They have a certain migration route. Anyhow, I think that certain generations only make it like halfway through, and then the next generation picks up and does the next part of the migration route, that kind of thing. So it's like, how do they know that that's where they're supposed to be going? It's so amazing. And then they wake up after sleeping, hibernating over the winter in clusters, and they cover the trees with their bodies, and they keep each other from freezing that way. They huddle up, and then they go out, and I don't remember where they stop, but they stop and lay eggs and die, and then the next ones go up. I think they go up to Canada. There might have been 2 or 3 stops that they make, but each generation kind of lays eggs, dies, then the next one goes on all the way up to Canada, and then they come all the way back and do repeat. It's just crazy. But there's like one super generation that doesn't die. They I don't know. Well, they do die, but they... Okay, I'm going to stop talking about it now because I'm not explaining it at all well. Look it up.
I'm trying.
I'm
trying to clean up this mess we've made.
Thank you. It was fascinating. It's been too long. I don't remember all of the details, obviously. I'm trying to explain it not very well.
For me, the thing is that they travel like 2,000 miles.
Right.
Almost straight.
Mm-hmm.
And they only fly like like their top speeds could be up to 12 miles an hour. So it's like a huge migration.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay, just filling in these little sections here. This part's a little bit tedious, so just kind of keep the lines as thin as you can. And if you mess up, you can always go back over with the orange and fill in sections or clean up parts if they got a little too dark. Oh, okay, there's supposed to be 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's one here too. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that side's right. And I round off these edges here because they kind of curve in right there. There's some bunch of spots in here, so these actually kind of come down a little bit more than I did them. This comes in a little bit more. There and there. There we go. There are 3 little things. You're being really quiet too. We're both being quiet.
Well, that's because I'm reading.
Oh.
And it's very difficult for
Mark
me, as you know.
Talk and read at the same time.
Oh.
Well, you could read what you're...
Mark can barely read.
Not true. Not true.
So they are the only butterfly that does a 2-way migration, like birds.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll travel, north in the summer and south in the winter.
Right.
And across the United States, there's looks like 4 main migrational paths.
Okay, hold that thought, because now I have to talk. You waited until I started doing something different, so sorry. It took too long. Burnt sienna and the orange here, mixing those, and I'm going to add a little bit of the kind of shadow to some of the wing here. Just a little bit darker color. On some of these sections. Mostly kind of toward the inside of the wings, so like where they're meeting the body, where they might be curved in, there might be a little shadow in there. Okay, and then grab some more of the bright orange. And I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow to it this time, the cad yellow light. And we'll add highlights to the centers of some of these. Really make these look like they've got some light shining through them. Catching the light. And here again, we're not doing it everywhere. I'm just going to kind of do it on these outer. And I'm pulling the lines in the direction that the wing grows. So if there's streaks, it looks like it's part kind of maybe like veins or something. So
okay, here we go. So it says that for the migration starting in September and October, the eastern and northeastern populations migrate from Southern California to the wintering sites in central Mexico, where they arrive around November. They start the return trip in March, arriving in July. No individual butterfly completes the entire round trip.
right.
Female monarchs lay eggs for the next generation during the northward migration, and at least 4 generations are involved in the annual cycle.
Yep, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, got my white now. And we're going to add our white highlights to the wings. And I'm going to start up here, and we'll do a few little dashes right here. And a few over here. Hopefully we've left enough room for some of these. And they actually kind of fit in between these sections, and there's dots on the outer end. Kind of like that, right? And then these ones are dotted here, dot here. So find all of where this line is coming up and put a dot up above it. So, and actually this one has 2, so it has one here and one here. And then like that. Okay. Around, and there's multiple ones on this side. Kind of in between. All right, starting here, keep them really small on these back ends. There's not a lot of room for some of these. Okay. There's a little bit of detail right here on the tail. I didn't get it in well enough earlier. I'm going to use the white to kind of outline. And there's a little bit of dotting on the back of the body too. So there's some dots there, and there's little dots on the head too as well. Like 3 dots there. Do we need to zoom in a little bit more on the butterfly? I feel like it's too far away.
Yeah, zooming in, but then it's picking up your hand and the butterfly going out of focus. So
right.
When you finish, I'll zoom in real close.
Okay, there we go. And then to finish it, I'm going to do a little bit of orange dots right here. There's a few little orange dots that kind of mimic right up underneath those white ones. Same thing on this side. Oh, okay, that paint is starting to get dry. It's getting goopy. little dots. Kind of mimicking these bigger dots. There we go. Okay, and then our little antenna, we can put that in. It's going to be hard to see, but we'll go ahead and put it in like kind of a gray, light gray, so it'll show up against that cat fur. We'll do there. Oops, not going to show up. Let's do it in almost white. There we go. Okay, zoom on out there, hun. Put our highlights in the eyes, and we will be done. All right, so I'm going to grab the zinc white and some of the phthalo blue. We'll make a light blue, transparent blue color. And I'll put a little bit of this. Actually, before I do this, I'm going to do the shadow one more time. It still needs a little bit darker shadow, so we'll grab the angle brush back. And our burnt umber. Get that on the tip of the angle brush. A little bit extra water, so it's a little bit thin down, and I'm going to pull off the extra off the back end of the brush, and then we'll go right up against that top edge, put a nice dark shadow in there. There we go. There we go. Let's do the same up here. Across there, nice dark shadow. I'm going to grab the zinc white and put my light shadow or light highlight right there again. Brighten that up a little bit more along the bottom edge so it kind of glows. And then we're going to grab that blue with the zinc white and phthalo blue mixture. Might do better to put out some fresh paint because it's starting to get kind of gummy. Been sitting there for a while.
Goopy and gummy, huh?
Goopy, yeah.
Man.
Okay.
I had to look it up.
What?
I had to look up goopy.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think it was a real word, but it is.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's put our highlights across the iris to kind of push it back. We'll put kind of some random kind of square shapes there, make it look glassy. And we'll do kind of similar shapes here. I'm just kind of going across the iris with this transparent color. And it's just going to be kind of right in the middle there. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of the brighter white, the titanium white, with the tip of the brush. And we'll go back in and add, kind of right at the top of that, I'm going to add a little highlight there. I'll add a little bit kind of matching right there. And then maybe do another one down lower. And that's pretty much all we have to do. We can maybe do a little bit more of that transparent color up here. But, okay, see? Maybe make this one a little bit bigger than this one down here. All right, I think we're good. I kind of want to add a little bit more blue to the eye. Grab that phthalo blue and just kind of come around the iris and wet it down so it's thinned, and I'm going to kind of come around and add a little darker, just right around the iris there and there. Probably should have done this before I did the highlights, but okay, that's better. Give a little bit more detail.
Okay, and your reference photo shows some more shadowing on the butterfly.
Yeah, I didn't want to shadow it the same way because the shadow was coming from a weird angle. It was actually facing upward, and I changed the angle of the butterfly.
Oh, you used your mad Photoshop skills?
Yeah, I did. I used my mad Photoshop skills.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's why. It's not exactly the same. All right, I think that's good. So I'm going to sign it and sign it over here. Make sure I leave enough space there.
And you're using a
Pigma Sakura FB. This is the fine brush pen. So it makes a nice waterproof mark. If you want to shadow your butterfly more, you can. That's, your prerogative, but I didn't. So hopefully you can see, get it up close there for you. See the detail in the butterfly, detail in the eyes. See that? Little whiskers. I could have messed with the ears a little bit more, but I don't think I'm going to because we've already been going almost 2 hours, so we'll call it good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hope you guys try this. Hope you've enjoyed it. And if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment for me. And that helps the algorithm know that you like my content. And it'll help suggest it more often so you can see some of my other videos. And if you want to get email notifications of all of my videos on YouTube, when you click the subscribe button, there's a little bell next to it. And that will, if you click the bell, it'll give you email notifications. You can also get on my email list. I will have a link down in the description of the video for that if you want to win a free t-shirt right now through the end of October of 2017.
And I just bought mine too.
No, I know. Well, I don't have the link down there yet, so I need to go do that really quick, but it will be there.
Okay.
by the end of today. So we'll have it there. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.